hello, everybody, and welcome to a Monday night therapy session.
Boy, do we need therapy.
I got to learn how to breathe. I do. I literally had to, before this, I had to lay down on my bed in the dark and meditate. I meditated. I tried to meditate. I didn't meditate. Who the fuck am I kidding? Okay, Todd. Todd spilled the beer all over himself before we started because, you know, he's so excited. He's excited. He's excited to be an old crotchety man. That's what he's excited about. He gets his chance tonight. As you know what? We're gonna start talking about volleyball because we're gonna, you know, we did play a national title game against Texas, and they kicked our ass. And that was, I want to use stronger words than unfortunate, but it really, quite frankly, sucked. I mean, it was, I don't know. You know, I did my post-game video. You know, I got upset at the end of it. Here's the thing. I watched that game, and I was very stressed out before that game. I almost got sick to my stomach waiting for that game. I only have done that in the past for football games. But it was very stressful, and it wore me out and exhausted me. And Paul Dallin says, now you start with volleyball now. Yes, we're going to start with volleyball, and we're just going to get it out of the way. And then we're going to talk about some other news that possibly might happen today. Texas kicked our ass. They did. And it's really unfortunate. And it was, you know, I think the thing was we saw the youth in the volleyball team for the first time this season, and they just got into that rotation of the second set. And I think they looked a lot like Wisconsin. And I don't like saying this, but I always try to be blunt and objective. Kind of, I'm lying. I try to be blunt at least. Texas beat, how many? They beat Stanford, they beat Wisconsin, they beat 3 number 1 seeds to win a national title. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And you have to hand it to them. Even though, you know, I hate saying that about Texas. You got anything to add about volleyball?
Yeah, I think it was really frustrating. And, you know, the thing that we, you know, it's a lot of fun watching youth. It's a lot of fun watching, you know, the talent that we put out there on the floor. But, you know, in hindsight, you got to remember that 11 of those players that were wearing that ugly ass dog shit orange played in they were on the national championship team last year. I won't say they played in a national title game, but they were there. And, you know, don't ever underestimate the value of experience. And, you know, in a lot of those tournaments, and it's just like, you know, the NCAA basketball tournament, it's like the wrestling tournament to an extent too. You know, beware the hot team coming into the tournament.
Yeah.
And Texas was really hot, and they were clicking. You know, every one of those 3 sets on Sunday, they jumped out they established a lead. You know, and they were on point. You know, we talked about the way Nebraska played against Pitt. You know, I used the term they were dialed in, and most definitely Texas was dialed in. I would have rather our girls gotten their asses kicked by Wisconsin. I would have rather they got.
You got to read the thing. Charles Hullett asked, would you have rather played Wisconsin in the volleyball final and lost, or Texas? I guess
I would have rather gotten beat by Wisconsin.
Yeah,
I hate getting beat by Texas. There is no team that I hate getting beaten more by than Texas, and that includes Iowa. You know, I'll take a loss to Iowa before I take a loss to Texas, and that is just really unfortunate. You know, they picked on a rotation we were in. They served out of sight. They had 12 aces.
Yeah.
Our back row could not. Well,
they served They mostly served at Harper Murray because that was the weak spot. Have you ever worked? You never worked a lot of cows in your life, did you?
Yeah, I worked a lot of cows.
Do you know what the calf scours is then, don't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Does that strike you that that color is the same color that Texas uses for their school color?
A little more yellow, but yeah, I'll give them that. Yeah, yeah. Maybe it's because maybe Texas is, because they're on that red dirt down there or something. Um,
It's
you know,
calf
I,
scours. But probably about 98% of the people that are on don't know what I'm talking about when I say
yeah,
that. Calf
yeah.
scours is like a form of heavy diarrhea for cows, and it spews.
See, Fred's on the same page. Fred Sacco says, hate losing to Texas more than any other school in everything ever. Hate them. Yeah, I am that way. And, you know, we all have, our biases and our nemesis, and David Matney, he pops in and says, what about Colorado? I don't like to lose to Colorado either, but, I think it all has to do with experiences that we've had, following our team. And, I think my hatred for Texas primarily comes from baseball. And,
Yeah.
and honestly, a football game that took place in Ames, Iowa, where a bunch of Texas students were mouthing off to me and my dad after a game. I just hate Texas. I just hate them with a passion. So,
Well, the good news is everybody on the team returns that we know of at this point. There could be nil implications. There could be all sorts of things happen in between now and the next season. But I mean, what was it, 33-2? That's a hell of a season, and it's still disappointing. That's amazing. Okay,
I'm disappointed by the game Sunday. I'm not disappointed in any way by the season. I mean,
right.
you
That's
live in the
true.
moment, and when you reflect, what a season those girls had. Let's also remember that down the stretch they played very, very well, and they played very well without one of their better players. Lindsey Krause, did
Yeah.
not play down the stretch, and coulda, woulda, shoulda. But it will be interesting, and I'm real curious what's going to happen. Obviously they all return, but will they? Will they all come back?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know that. It's going to be fun. Season's over.
That's when I
Congrats.
talked to her. She points out the fact that next year's team will be a different team. Each year is a different team. And that's really a good way to look at it. And that leads us to our next topic, which is outdated memes. This is a tweet I sent out today. I sent out the overly attracted girlfriend meme, which I think was relevant like 10 years ago. But I thought, this meme fits today because there are so many people, so many Husker fans sitting on Twitter. And by the way, if you're not on Twitter, Nebraska Twitter is the biggest of all the sports, I think. Maybe it's certainly bigger than any other college, but Nebraska Twitter is just massive and huge compared to every other fan base out there. So I sent this out, and this meme, you can look it up. It's overly attractive girlfriend. It's supposed to, I'm not going to explain it, but what I want to do is say that a little bit after I sent that tweet out, the Dylan Raiola commitment announcement came out. And so I am taking credit for getting that announcement put out, ahead of time so that people could stop worrying and stop like checking Twitter every 10 seconds to look for it. We get a 5-star quarterback, Todd. The top recruit, the top recruit in the class of 2024. What do you think?
Well, I said I'll believe it when I see it. So now I'm going to believe it. Oh, that is so cool. We're like men in blazers now. That is so cool. John, you've taken this podcast to an even higher level. That is
I do. I'm going to have to start having more props, except the lights are kind of shining on this.
Yeah, but that is so cool.
Well, it is. It's, what it is? It's from our props department. And we just blew our budget for the month. That's what that was.
Oh, then we'll have to wait till next month.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. And I can remember the two of us talking way back before the start of the season when Dylan Raiola, announced that he was going to go to Georgia. And, there was a lot of disappointed people, and, Nebraskans kind of handled it the way that I think a lot of us have handled some of these things in the past. Don't run the kid down, don't run him into the ground. He may be back. Well, I think most people thought he might be back 2025, maybe. I think it is kind of shocking, but I haven't heard the whole story about why it all happened. But, you bring in a kid like that and you got to feel pretty positive about the future. I still wonder what the situation is going to be next fall. I don't care if you bring in a 5-star quarterback. He's still, only played high school football. And boy, again, I'm going to defer to that volleyball game. I'd like a little bit more experience out there under center than a kid who played his last snap for Buford High School in Georgia.
Now,
Well,
how many recruits do you think Buford, Georgia, has put into Division I this year?
well, we got 2 running backs from Buford, Georgia.
Who's we?
Nebraska.
We do?
There are 2 running backs on our roster from Buford, Georgia.
Well, there you go. That he's playing at a fairly high level of football in Buford, Georgia.
Well,
I realize it's high school and it's not college, but Todd, the confirmation bias has to kick in here.
sure.
He's going to win 4 Heismans, just like Ron Paulus was going to.
Well,
years
see,
ago.
this is where I have a little bit of problem because, with his announcement today
Okay.
and that poem or whatever, one of the people that I most respect in my life is a gentleman who passed away far too early. His name was Kurt Olson, assistant principal at Creston High School, mountain of a man. And Kurt was one of those old school football coaches that kind of had an opinion of when you hand the ball off and you gain 3 yards, you only have to do that 3 times to be darn near a first down. And when Kurt talked about coaching football, he never had a whole lot of time for the show ponies, and way too much attention is given to the show ponies, far too much attention. And in fact, it's more important to give attention to the boys up front, not the show ponies, those plow horses, those big old brutes that do all the work. They're the ones that are going to make a difference as to whether or not our show pony is going to have an opportunity to succeed. And so that being said, here you go. There's the caboose, folks. That's the caboose that I was talking about last week. And that's what we should be focusing on, is building our line. Now, it sounds like we're going to get some linemen as a result of our gentleman coming to us from Georgia. But it's good to have him, but I'm not going to make it into more than it is. He's a show pony. Let's see what the big boys up front can accomplish so that our team can be successful. And I'm out.
How long did you spend finding the little show pony thing? And the
Well, I was going to go with My Little Pony. And then I thought that might be rubbing his nose in it.
Okay. So, is it Dylan Raiola's fault that he's a show pony, Todd? Or is it other people that have put him in that position?
Yes and yes. Yes and yes.
David Matney asks, overall, how reliable is the 5-star rating evaluation system? What is your take on that, Todd?
You know what? I am not a recruiting guy. And, the teams that tend to have the most 5-star recruits tend to have a very high level of success.
Yeah.
And, I think most of your 5 stars, they tend to play out and, have some success. But, a 5-star high school player is not a Division I All-American when he sets foot on campus. And, you know, he's going to have to grow and he's going to have to develop. I'll just say this. I'll take him because we've never had a quarterback recruit since Tommy Frazier that people have thought so highly of. And, you know, the last big name quarterback that we had, he did okay. He did all right.
Okay. Well, number one, I guess I should answer that. You know, Mr. Matney, I think the five, put it this way, there, I said this before, I don't follow recruiting religiously, but I talk to other guys that I try to stay informed about recruiting to at least an extent. The number one, there's the old joke about there's only two things people pay for on the internet, and that's recruiting and porn. And the recruiting services made, you know, when you watch newspapers die left and right and everything like that, the recruiting services really haven't died. They've made a lot of money. Now, that also requires them to be credible, but at the same time, they tend to favor people that go to camps and get noticed, and they're the people out there playing the game for recruiting. So if you have a guy who is a guy that's in Dix, Nebraska, and he doesn't get out and get seen and he can't get to camps or something like that, then he's not going to have a very high star rating, and it's going to be up to coaches to find him. I'm sorry, I'm going to go with a different one. Where is this? Paul Dallin says, have you actually seen Raiola film? He's phenomenal. And I think that's what I get when I talk to other recruiting people I know, is they do talk about that he has mass skills and he is very mature for his age. And he is so, you know what? He is so mature. I talked about this in my reaction video. He's so mature. He understood that yesterday he wasn't going to announce, even though he knew he was committing this weekend. He didn't announce when other teams were playing because he did what he knows that we all follow football religiously. Away from those. And the second thing is he is so mature and so secure in himself as a person that he put his announcement on Twitter with a poem. And name another recruit that's done that, Todd. You can't, because there's none. That's how secure a young man this is. You know, it's probably written by his mother or somebody else, but they still put it out there. That's ballsy. That's some guts, right?
Sure.
And because Dylan Raiola was so ballsy and secure, I decided that I needed to have my own tribute to our commitment, our recruitment and his commitment of Dylan Raiola. And I came up with a gospel-based song that really just needs music. I'm going to give you a dramatic reading of a little bit of it. It's actually, you know, like 4 verses and a bridge, but we're just going to go through like verse 1 with the response. And it's, oh, have you seen our star with the ball in hand? He's the quarterback, the leader of our football band, dominating the field, defying gravity's call. His throws are a symphony, breaking down walls. And then the chorus is, can I get a witness to his mind-blowing skills? He's the greatest of all, bringing thrills and chills. Oh, football's his stage, and he's here to rave. Victorious 5-star, keeping us brave. And the response, of course, you have to have a response there. And then everybody would respond, victorious 5-star, keeping us brave. Should I do version 2?
Verse 2. Yeah, let's go with verse 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Hit verse 2, John.
Okay, verse 2. In the huddle we gather, his presence ignites. Passion fuels his spirit, his heart shining bright. He reads the defense, their disguise he uncovers, finding open receivers like no other. And then we get back to the chorus again. Can I get a witness to his mind-blowing skills? He's the greatest of all, bringing chills and thrills. Oh, football's his stage, and he's here to rave. Victorious 5-star, keeping us brave. And then, of course, there's a response, and then there's a bridge. Through the trenches, he charges ahead. With faith and determination, he's never misled. His journey's exciting, full of ups and downs. But he rises above, never losing his crown. Can I get a witness to his mind-blowing skills? He's the ball, bringing thrills and chills. Oh, football's his stage, and he's here to brave. Victorious 5-star, keeping us brave. Huh?
That has a little night before Christmas kind of sound to it. Maybe it's just because it's the time of year or something like that. James Boardman from Lincoln says there once was a man from Lincoln who has a butt that be stinking. So, he's kind of in the mood too here for a good poem.
Oh my God.
Good on you, John.
I got so hot reading that. I got to get rid of the robe.
Well, and David Matney says John is a 5-star poet. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that because, he, I think, went to that fancy chat BI or GPA.
Oh, I didn't use Chat GPT for this. My God, this was this came from my heart and soul.
This came from your heart and soul. Okay.
My heart and soul and my internet connection.
Well, Murph Dog Brewing Company says, can we talk about the speculation at Raiola? I heard on the radio the other day, it's Raiola. I got to say it right. Raiola's commitment might bring in additional talent. I don't know if it's because of him that this Shavers kid, a linebacker who had committed to Miami, is possibly flipping. I think it would be huge if that big old lineman that committed to Texas, flipped his commit. And was his last name Baker? I'll tell you what.
Brandon Baker.
Yeah, boy, if he'd flip and come to Nebraska, that would be good. And then, we're approaching like 38. I know I'm exaggerating, but bringing in all these recruits is going to continue to put a lot of pressure on Coach Rule to figure out how he's going to, get to that 85 or they're going to have to really dig into some pockets for some nil money to try to make it all work. But there was speculation before he committed to Georgia that there would be players that would follow him here. And signing day is Wednesday.
Yeah, so early signing day.
Early signing. You're right. Early signing day is Wednesday. So, if people are going to flip, we're going to know about it. And then Coach Rule sends out a little teaser of a tweet, something along the lines, I know some things that you don't know that we'll share on, something like that. So, yeah.
Wait, David Matney says with the amount of injuries the team suffered last year, I hope we can get a great backup too. Well, we have Danny Kaelin is basically staying. So I think, I don't know what people thought about. I think Danny Kaelin didn't have a great high school year. I think, but
he did not have a great year.
Yeah. He still was an elite 11 quarterback. And if I remember right, somewhere, you know what? Actually, we have graphics we load into this system that we use for these live shows. And I think last week I deleted the Elite 11 graphic that showed that he was the top one with accuracy. So, I think it's exciting to have both of those guys coming. I realize we probably, want an experienced quarterback maybe to step in to the games or start next year, but you go to, what is that line? You go to war with the army you got, one, not the one you want. And I think that, I know we're impatient, but it's months away and we'll see what happens.
And, then the next question, maybe not the next one, but somewhere in the progression is what's going to happen with Chubba Purdy? What's going to happen with Heinrich Haarberg? And, there's a lot of speculation ever since before the start of this school year. People have talked about Haarberg maybe switching positions. And with Purdy, he got in at the end of the season, but, there was, I don't know, did he graduate last weekend?
I think he's graduating this semester. Well,
Well, then
it's almost, it's almost Christmas, Todd. We're
the
almost,
semester ended. They graduated
yeah,
on Saturday.
yeah. I think they
So,
graduated.
if he earned a diploma, he can go back into the portal and be immediately eligible again. So, I don't know. Matt Rule has surprised me in many, many ways. And the fact that we have not even a handful of players that have jumped into the portal. Players are liking it at Nebraska. And, I think a lot of folks say, well, the nil money. I don't think it's the nil money as much as it is with the climate and the culture that he's building. The facilities that they're going to have access to once they complete them are going to be second to none. You're a high percentage of players still have to believe at Nebraska they have an opportunity to get playing time. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to watch.
Vince Watson says Purdy did graduate. I can imagine that he would transfer. I mean, the quarterback position. Well, we have a ways to go before next fall, and I'm sure we can all speculate. Excuse me. My problem is that most of our speculation is what I call catastrophizing, which is where you look at the most catastrophic thing possible and you start to believe it more and more because come on, evolutionary wise, we're still cavemen and we worry about what what is outside the light of the cave. There's a fire in the cave and past the light we can't see and it's all evil out there. That's what we do when we speculate about the future most of the time.
There's been a lot of speculation, and Brian Bauer kind of jumps in on this a little bit. For quarterback coach, my money is on Thompson. He's worked with Rule. He's on the Steelers staff as an analyst. Again, I have not paid close attention to that conversation, but I have interjected, from time to time that I think it would be incredibly important for Nebraska to have a quarterback coach.
Yeah.
And especially now, if we're going to hitch our wagon to Dylan Raiola and Danny Kaelin, if that's quarterback one and quarterback two, we better have a full-time quarterback coach to nurture and bring those guys along.
Somebody to help them out.
Somebody to help them out. Otherwise, it could be a disaster. This is a stat too that Gloom Trench pops in. The kid threw something like 33 touchdowns to only 1 or 2 interceptions this year. I think it was only 1 interception, and he's talking about Raiola. And I heard that on the radio the other day, and that is an impressive stat.
It is.
It is.
That doesn't even exist. That can't be real.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Okay. Lloyd Christmas. Will Dylan start in 2024? This is from a while ago. Your thoughts? Likely if there's not another quarterback showing up, I would guess so. I just, there you go.
Unless they keep Purdy around, Purdy is the obvious leader. I would say that Raiola will be the starter in game 1.
Yeah, and like Todd says, we have 2 days to go to early signing day, and I think I haven't checked what Nebraska's recruiting level is or what class we're in right now, but I think that things are going to get a lot better from just speculation I've seen about maybe other guys coming out of Georgia and things like that. Jack the Ripper says, what did he cost? Do you know, Todd?
I do not.
There's been a lot of numbers floating around.
Matt Rule said that in this day and age, it's going to cost you $1 million or $2 million to bring in a top quarterback through the portal. Well, we didn't get
basically that's the cost. There you go. And keep in mind something. When we talk about costs, we don't necessarily talk about like a salary or a money. We talk about compensation. So you can throw, let's say, $1.5 million at a kid and then give him a car and give them, I don't know, a nice place to live. There's all sorts of other ways to compensate people besides just giving them money.
Yeah, agreed with that. Here's something too. There was a little thing that I saw on Twitter, and Murph Dog Brewing Company brings up Casey Thompson as quarterback coach. I think that previous comment was what referenced a guy who's an analyst with the Steelers whose last name is Thompson. But I throw this one up here because I saw it on Twitter that Casey Thompson was in Lincoln. Apparently he and Gabe Irvin are good friends. And that all of a sudden sent a lot of speculation that Casey Thompson was going to return to Nebraska. Now, I cannot believe that Casey Thompson would come back to the University of Nebraska, nor do I believe that Matt Rule would make room for him on the roster when he has these two young freshmen coming in, when there's no intention of Casey Thompson being the starting quarterback. Now, I understand, that Murph Dog Brewing Company mentions, him as a quarterback coach. Another individual I was listening to did say that Casey Thompson has a desire to go into coaching. It appears that he believes that his career will be over, after he completes college. So, maybe he's coming up to be a grad assistant or something like that. I don't know, but I can't see him being a quarterback coach. Not when he hasn't had experience in that position.
Well, where are we at? We're 2 days away from early signing day. I think the portal goes to what? What did I say? I posted this somewhere on our Slack room. Was it January 2nd or January 6th? Early portal.
I don't remember.
Because we have they have a 2023 college plan. Come on. We have a listen, when I did the reaction video earlier today, I did like 15 takes of the damn thing. And I'm not sure if I mentioned, I think there's an Oregon running back that's coming in January.
Yeah. I saw something about that too. Former 4-star running back. Looks like he may be coming.
January 2nd is the cutoff date.
Okay.
So, we still have, 2 days to signing day for recruits like Dylan Raiola, but we still have, another 2 weeks. Well, we have a lot of holiday time for the transfer portal stuff, which is kind of wild. I know there's a lot of people that are upset. There's a lot of football people that are upset with the schedule of the transfer portal, which opens December 4th and goes to January 2nd, because they're like, why is it now? These people could still be playing in bowl games and stuff like that. Well, it's that way because schools run on semesters, and you can't just move it out into January because people need to still register and actually go to class. There are still universities at this point in time attached to the football teams we love. So there you go. That's why the portal the way it is. Go ahead and take that one.
This one? Which one?
From Brian Bauer.
Well, now I clicked on the wrong one.
You did click on the wrong one.
It got moved. It moved on me. Brian Bauer says, how come no one brings up Brian Ferentz as a quarterback coach? He's looking for work. If he has knowledge, very little of it has been used. So what you're saying, Brian, is that since he's used so little knowledge, he's got a lot to give. Brian Ferentz is going to be an offensive line coach in the NFL somewhere. That would be my guess of what's going to happen with him. I mean, don't forget that, prior to coming and joining his pop at Iowa, he was coaching offensive line with the New England Patriots. And so he's got he's got connections, and he's going to land on his feet somewhere. So
Jack the Ripper says, do these guys actually have to go to school? What for? Well, at this point in time, there still are NCAA eligibility requirements they have to meet in order to play. So yes, they do have to school. They have to school. They do have to go to school. Maybe that'll change in another 3-4 years when collective bargaining comes in. All the players unionize, and they're ruled as the plays, and the schools start taking over nil, which is entirely a plausible future that I see in about 3, 4, 5 years. There you go.
Murph Dog comes back and says, did anyone see the article about how Iowa fans are raging that they can't get recruits like we do, even though they claim to be superior in every way since the beginning of time? I have not seen that article. I would love to read it because I like anything that sheds a negative light on the Iowa Hawkeyes. But here's what I would say. Because of I'm not going to dig into it too deep here, but a lot of African-American players are not going to go to the University of Iowa and play. I mean, don't get me wrong. They have some on their team, but with the way things shook down with Coach Doyle and the presence of Brian Ferentz, who also a lot of fingers were pointing to him with a lot of racist attitude and racist language and that kind of stuff. That's turned off, a lot of recruits saying, I'm not going to go play in that program. So, there's that. The other side of it, let me just listen. The other thing is,
okay.
If you're an offensive player, especially a skill position player, why the hell would you go to Iowa with what they've put out there for an offense in the last few years? Iowa has done good developing offensive linemen, but they haven't been spectacular since Coach Doyle left and was developing those big old brutes with the strength and conditioning program. So, there's.
I think it's telling that Iowa. Here's the thing: Iowa hasn't hired an offensive coordinator. And they won't be hiring one. I think Scott Docterman, our favorite guy from Iowa, who covers Iowa for The Athletic. I saw him, I think, tweet today that they would not be considering an offensive coordinator until January after their bowl game. So that basically means that they can't really go to any offensive players in the portal and go get any of them and tell them, yeah, this is what our offense is going to look like, because they're not bothering with any of this stuff. That's what I still find amazing. You fired Brian Ferentz. You didn't renew his contract, technically, I suppose. But you're not doing that much anything different to improve yourself. Paul Dalen says, have you seen our offense recently? Something, glass houses, something. You are wrong, Paul. The difference is we're making efforts and strides in recruiting players that are going to come in and make our offense, perhaps not much, just a little better, but like a huge explosive amount better. So I think that's the huge difference between us and Iowa, is they're really not making any effort to do much in the way of change and dealing with nil. I know they have some nil going on. Everybody has to. But they're not doing much to change what they've been to what they were going to be in the future. So I think that's the difference, Paul. That's the difference that I see.
Yeah, I agree with you there, John. Until Iowa, number one, hires an offensive coordinator, makes it obvious what kind of offense they're going to have. How does a player make a decision to go play for them? I read an article today where Kirk Ferentz was talking about whoever he hires has to have respect for the Iowa tradition, or for the respect for the way that Iowa does things. And Kirk Ferentz has been a very conservative offensive coach. And you're not going to bring in, there was a lot of speculation that the former guy, the Golden Boy, is a candidate for Iowa's offensive coordinator. There's no way that Kirk Ferentz is going to hire Scott Frost to be an offensive coordinator, because there are times it's with that high-speed offense that the defense is on the field the whole dang game. and that's not going to cut it with the Iowa philosophy. Phil Parker would strangle him. He'd take him out in the back alley and beat the tar out of him.
Lloyd M. Christmas says, John, what is our recruiting ranking now by adding Dylan? I'm looking at 247 over here, and they rank us overall 23rd with
That's
26
before,
hard commits. Well,
that's
it shows
before
Dylan
Raiola.
Raiola. It shows Dylan Raiola at the top of it, so I don't know if they.
Oh.
This is the ranking as we're looking at it right now. So there you go. Composite 19th overall, ranked 23rd.
Well, there you go.
We have 20, they list 26 hard commits. So if we're bringing in 26 hard commits and we're adding people in the portal, where the hell are we going to fit all these guys? You know, because we're already at our scholarship limit and not many people have left. So you got to believe that they're using nil to replace scholarships for a lot of people. And that's where this is going to kind of get fuzzy, is where, you know, Todd, what year was it they came up with scholarship limits? Was it the 80s?
Late
80s?
They had scholarship limits back. I mean, I remember when the scholarship limit was 115.
Right.
And then they dropped it. Then they dropped it to 85, and everybody was having a cow. But that might have been in the 90s when they did that. That had to have been in the 90s.
It's been a while, but everybody did ship themselves out of it. But
oh my God! But you know, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, before the 115, the stories that were told about Bear Bryant, Barry Switz, and some of those people warehousing players. I mean, literally getting players to come to their universities so that other schools couldn't have them, so they couldn't play against them. I mean, you know, it was a way, oh my gosh, you know, just craziness back in the day. Kind of like how apparently in the re-recruitment of Dylan Raiola, Uncle Donovan spent an extended period of time visiting the family in Georgia. And I don't know if this is true, but apparently there's an NCAA rule that if a coach is visiting a player, coaches from other schools cannot go and visit the player.
Really?
So I'm not going to go to the wall on this. This is
kind of, you know what? They are an SEC country, and them fuckers have pushed the rules around like little, you know, like.
Well, so when Donovan Raiola camped out at his brother's household, that kept the other people at bay. And in the meantime, Matt Rule and the rest of the assistants, they go up to Ainsworth and crash a wedding party, you know? So, yeah.
What a time to be alive. It's like it's 1963 all over again, except we didn't hear about any skirt chasing. And for those of you that don't know that, that's a Bob Devaney reference. All right. Real quick. Wait, I missed it. Where the hell did it go? James Boardman. Men's basketball slapped around Kansas State. Also, Danny Nee will be honored on January 20th during the Northwestern game. Did you watch it? You didn't. Nobody watched any of the basketball game, did they?
I don't know of anybody that did, but you know, I tend not to hang with people like that. You know, that's not my crowd.
Well, here's the deal. Men's basketball moves to 9-2. Kansas State is a good win. It's a quad 2 win. It would have been bad, very bad if they lost it for their postseason things. Right now, there's people speculating, well, this is an NIT team. Here's the thing about that. We talked about this in Slack. That's like saying projecting bowl teams in August. You know, January and February in the Big Ten is going to determine what's going to happen with Nebraska basketball. And, you know, we'll just wait and see what happens. Husker Bob says, how about Mickey Joseph getting a head coaching job at Grambling is where he went.
God, jeez.
Sorry. Hey, you know, somebody said earlier, words are hard. They are hard.
Yeah, they are.
Damien, I've been trying to put words together all day.
You know, I've tried to figure out how best to respond to this when it came out today because, geez, and I'll just say it. You know, I'm happy for Mickey Joseph. I really am because what Mickey Joseph did and his commitment to the University of Nebraska, was I respect the hell out of the guy for that. But I'm afraid by saying that I am downplaying the significance of the allegations that were made against him. But everything was dropped. And so that's the conundrum that we fall into from time to time. And so, for Mickey, Joseph, football coach, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
If there are issues in his private life, in his personal life, I sure as hell hope he gets them straightened out. And I'll just leave it with that. I don't know how to say it any different.
Eddie Robinson coached at Grambling.
Yeah.
And Eddie Robinson was one of the, if not the winning, is he still the winningest coach in all of history? No, that's John Gallardi at Division III
St. John's. Yeah.
I worked with a guy that played for Eddie Robinson at Grambling, and he said that Robinson would wake them up with a cowbell walking through their dorm rooms, and he kind of described it as being in a barracks, but he would come walking through at like 5:30 a.m. with a cowbell, and he still winced when he talked about Eddie Robinson. I'm glad Mickey Joe. Here's the thing: you get accused of what he gets accused of. If you're convicted, you have a lot. Art Briles still is never getting a head coaching job, and he shouldn't. But
No.
Mickey had all his charges dropped. You spend your time out of the public limelight, and then you start over, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah. Let's throw this. Vince says, whose job will be harder to make roster numbers, Rule or Cook? I don't think Cook has to worry about roster numbers. He's got 2 or 3 recruits coming in, and I don't. He'll make it work. I think it's going to be an easier job than Rule. But at the same time, James Boardman jumps up and says, "Remember, we had 104 players before spring practice last year. It will work itself out." Yeah, I think it will work itself out. It will be interesting to see what Nebraska players that we're not aware of right now, won't be with the team next year. Because I'll venture to say that there are probably some players that had some meaningful playing time this year that for one reason or another won't be back. I just don't know who they'll be. Roger Moore comes in and says, do walk-ons affect scholarships? Not your number that you issue, but they certainly affect scholarships from the standpoint that they're going to walk on and you don't have to give them a scholarship. And I think Nebraska is really benefiting from a 4-star offensive lineman from Bishop Gorman out in Las Vegas. And I don't have his name handy, but this kid is a solid recruit who has been offered scholarships to go to other Division I schools. And he's going to walk on at Nebraska. My guess is they put together a pretty nice nil package for him. But in this day and age, you don't see too many 4-stars choose to walk on. And
right.
So, yeah, Roger, no, they don't count against the number, but yeah.
Paul Dallin says, I think there is a roster limit, maybe 110 players, 105 players when you start fall camp. And that means you can go into fall camp with 105 players. When school's in session, you can have 6,000 players if you want. All these NCAA rules are just the most, honestly, they're the most fucked up, weird, obtuse, bizarre rules that you can think of. How we've been able to navigate all this crap with the NCAA for all these years and really never get into that much trouble is amazing.
That's
why there's so many.
That's
What?
why you have compliance offices.
Right.
And you pay people, you pay attorneys to try to keep you out of trouble. Phil Spear, Todd, what happened to the Foggy Memorial Stadium background? Well, we thought that might have been a reason why I was my connectivity was being impacted. And actually, I'm out in Colorado right now, Longmont, Colorado. So that's where my background's coming in. Actually, I'm enjoying some really good Colorado beer, Oscar's Lager, brewed right in Longmont, as well as what is this one? Patrol Dog Ale, Alpine Brewery in Longmont, Colorado. So there you go.
Were they made by Buffs fans? Did you check? Did you ask at the store? Did you?
I did not ask. I did not ask. But if Buff fans can make good beer, I'll drink their beer.
You sound so resolute about this. Todd, we have a problem.
And what is my problem?
We have a problem. We have a problem in that Christmas Day is the 25th, is a Monday.
Yeah.
Are we doing a show on Christmas night?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. See, do you think your family's going to let you get away with that?
Probably not.
Yeah.
They'd all want to be on because I'm going to be with them.
Yeah. That's it. Maybe Tuesday. Maybe we should do it next Tuesday.
If you want to go next Tuesday, we can make it work.
Okay. And then 1 week later, New Year's Day, or is it New Year's Day? I think is on a Monday. I think so. Yes. We'll figure it out. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. What I want you guys to do, if you follow our show, and thank you for all the support, by the way. I'm really happy with how many of you show up. I'm pleased as punch with that. What you should do is make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit the little bell that's on the channel of the videos so you get notified. And then we'll try to schedule shows ahead of time so that you know when the schedules are. Thursday night, we hope to have a fun special show. They're all special. What the hell else? Hit the like button. Let's see what else we got. What else do we have, Todd?
I like Minnie popped in with an interesting comment here. Being a good head coach is like juggling knives with your hair on fire. I think in this day and age, there's probably some truth to that, Minnie. To me, the job of the head coach does not involve coaching football players.
That's true.
The job of head coach pretty much is leading a company in a way, and coaching coaches, holding coaches accountable. The good head coaches do develop relationships with players and trying to get to know the players and try to understand the players and making sure that they're all pulling the rope in the same direction. But boy, then again, that's why Matt Rule has spent a good chunk of his first year building an infrastructure, where he's got all these other people behind the scenes that are taking care of a lot of the business that back in the day, the head coach is worried about.
All right, let's see. What else do we have coming up? We did that one. Hey, David Matney a while back says, John, thank you for your service. We salute you as our fearless leader. I always like comments like that. Thank you. Paul Dallin, way back when we started, said he's in Lincoln and planning to enroll for second semester, right? I think he's referring to Dylan Raiola.
Or is he referring to Casey Thompson? I don't know.
I don't
Paul,
know.
Straighten us out.
You know what? Husker Chuck says McCord signed with Syracuse. That is weird. I got to just say that. You're the starting quarterback at Ohio State. They treated it. I mean, they pretty much ran him off, I think. You know what I mean? There was a lot of stuff out to me. There was a lot of stuff out there about the fact that McCord's dad asked Ryan Day for more nil money, and but you go from Ohio State, which is one of the top programs in the nation, to Syracuse. I don't know. I guess I guess you're probably going to play and be the starting quarterback, and maybe that's the best thing to try to get into the NFL. But it's still just a weird thing. Paul Dalen comes back and says Raiola. I'm going to have to get used to that. Raiola. We're going to have to make up a song about that, Todd.
About Raiola.
I think that Raiola will be enrolling early. Yes.
Phil Spear says, and the A&M guy maybe. I think the A&M guy, I think, announced is going somewhere else. I don't know. God, I got to pay closer attention to some of this stuff right now. You know what? We're all going to know. We're going to know 95% of it on Wednesday. So
yeah, we are.
We'll figure it out, I guess, at that point in time.
Maybe we'll set something up for Wednesday. Maybe I'll do a live show later in the afternoon. I mean, I just tend to just get a hair and decide, I'll just go live for this. So maybe we'll do someone. I'm sure that Connor over at Corn Craze will probably be doing something live. Maybe I'll check with him. We'll see what's going on. I feel like we're forgetting something important. And now I can't remember what it is, Todd. Have you bought all your Christmas presents?
All of my Christmas shopping is done.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, I'm kind of on top of it this year.
Fred Sacco says John gets a bug up his ass and we get content. What a process. That's kind of how it works, except for the history videos. Those take a lot of work. I think the last two I've put out over on the other history channel, which is hardcore college football history, and I would appreciate your support over there. I think that I have to do a better job of keeping people engaged and doing different things with editing, and I'm trying to work on that. And there you go. Hardcore college football history. Go look that up. Let's see what else. What a country. Me too for a change. I don't know, Todd. Women's basketball, they're doing fairly well, I think. We haven't ever mentioned the name Britt Prince, have we?
We have not mentioned the name Britt Prince.
Well, she's a commit. One of the best top commits in the nation for women's basketball. Volleyball season's over. That's it. We're done, I think.
Yeah, I think we've covered things pretty well. And now we just sit back and, wait for the fax machines to run on Wednesday morning with all those letters of intent that they're going to be signing and sending in. Fred Sacco says, how's the wrestling team doing? They beat South Dakota State in a duel the other night. And so that kind of wraps things up for the first semester. They'll be back on the mat after the first of the year. Hopefully a couple of them kind of get some things turned around a little bit, but they've had a good start to the season. And it appears that most of them are healthy. So that's a good thing at this point in time.
Maybe I'll do a video with the dramatic reading of the gospel song for Dylan Raiola.
I think you need to put it to music. And
oh God. I saw somebody earlier said, could you do a rap? No, nobody needs that. Listen, nobody needs me attempting to rap. That's just a horrifying. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you
maybe I'll put it out there and request that, you can put things out there and then have other people mix them so that they put music to your, whatever you're doing. I think you could do that.
Well, there you go.
We'll figure it out.
There you go. Well, hey, let's wrap it up, John. And, we're going to wish everybody, the happiest of holidays and hopefully everybody has an opportunity to get away from what they do on a day-by-day basis and enjoy some family, enjoy some time off, enjoy good food and good drink and whatever else it is that you and your family participate in over the holidays. And so I guess, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. We'll hopefully see you between now and the new year. But if you haven't picked a team in the FCS championship, go Grizz. And I know that will irritate a few Jackrabbit fans, but I still have part of my heart out there in Missoula, Montana. So hopefully the Grizz can pull her off.
Okay, that's it for tonight. Thank you again for your support. See us Thursday night for Thursday night show with Greg and Minnie, and we'll see what happens. I say that a lot, don't I?
That's okay.
Good night, Todd.
Good night, John.